open with the sound of a single, powerful gust of wind. It howls, strong and isolated. Then the sharp, sickening crack of a massive tree trunk snapping. It falls with a thunderous final crash. Silence. Then a new sound, a gentle, constant breeze through a dense forest. Thousands of leaves rustling together. The wind here is the same force, but met with a soft, resilient sigh. No cracks, no falls, just a continuous, living whisper. The voice begins, clear and compelling. Picture it, the mighty oak, standing alone in a wide, open field. Its branches are spread wide against the sky, a silhouette of solitary strength. We are taught to admire this, to aspire to it, the self-made, the lone wolf, the one who needs no one, who bears every storm alone, who stands or falls purely by their own grit. This image is a lie, a beautiful, seductive, and profoundly dangerous lie. It is the myth of the lone oak, and here is its dark truth. A tree that stands alone is the most vulnerable tree in the world. It takes the full, unbroken force of every storm. Its roots, with no interlocking network, must clutch at soil that can easily wash away. When the lightning strikes, it has no neighbor to share the blast. When the drought comes, there is no shared canopy to hold moisture, no hidden communal root system to sip from a deeper common water table. Its strength is its isolation, and its isolation is its fatal flaw. We have been sold this myth as the pinnacle of inner strength. But what we call inner strength is often just compensated fragility. It's the rigid posture we adopt because we believe no one will catch us if we sway. It's the emotional calluses we grow from bearing friction without the balm of empathy. It's the silent, grinding strain of holding up a world, a career, a family, a pain, on a single, unbuttressed pillar of self. Think of the last time you faced a true gale-force wind in your life, a diagnosis, a devastating loss, a failure that shook your identity. If you operated from the lone oak myth, what did you do? You likely tightened your grip. You retreated inward. You put on a face of stoic endurance. You may have even pushed away offers of help, believing that accepting them would be an admission of weakness, a corruption of your solitary strength. But in that moment, you weren't becoming stronger. You were becoming brittle. You were trading long-term resilience for short-term, lonely endurance. True, unshakable strength is not found in becoming harder, denser, and more isolated. It is found in becoming intelligently, resiliently connected. It is the difference between a stone and a spider's web. A stone is hard, but a hammer can shatter it. A web is gossamer thin, almost nothing, but connected at multiple points, flexible, elastic. It can catch a stone without breaking. It absorbs and distributes the force. The culture of the lone oak celebrates the visible hero, the individual who overcomes alone. But it ignores the invisible, interconnected ecosystem that actually makes overcoming possible. For every hero, there is a mentor who whispered wisdom, a friend who believed when they didn't, a community that held a space for their healing, an ancestor whose resilience is in their blood, a faith that offered a horizon beyond the pain. These are not extraneous supports. They are the source code of the strength we mislabel as self-made. Our task is to perform a radical act of reimagination. We must look at that majestic, solitary oak and see not an ideal, but a warning. And then we must turn our gaze to the forest, to the grove where trees stand together, where their roots are woven into a secret, cooperative network underground, sharing nutrients, sending warnings, supporting the sick, strengthening the whole. Above ground, they may seem like separate beings, but below, they are one living, breathing system. In the grove, The wind doesn't break trees, it makes them sing together. Your inner strength was never meant to be a monolith. It is meant to be a node in a network, a note in a chord, a strand in a web. The moment you release the myth of going it alone is the moment you unlock access to a strength that is ancient, adaptive, and truly unshakable. Because a force that would snap a single pillar is effortlessly born by a connected grid. So let the myth of the lone oak fall with that final crash, and listen instead to the softer, wiser, more enduring sound of the forest. Your strength is waiting there, not in standing apart, but in being profoundly, resiliently linked. The forest sounds swell, birds, leaves, the creak of healthy wood. It feels alive, safe, and strong. The sound of a single clear stream joins it, the sound of a hidden, nourishing source. But this forest, this network of strength, doesn't exist by accident. It is built by and thrives on a hidden architecture. To become part of it, we must understand the hidden root system. What are you connected to? The forest sounds blend and fade down, leaving primarily the sound of the flowing water, which now seems to be running underground, heard but not seen. Open with the sound of the underground stream from the end of point 1. It flows steadily, hidden but vital. Then layer in a subtle magical sound, the soft, squeaking, stretching sound of roots growing through soil, intertwining. It's a network being woven. This builds gently. The voice begins, leaning in as if sharing a secret. So we turn from the barren field to the living forest. But the true secret of the forest's strength isn't what you see. It's not the trunks or the canopy. It's what's happening in the dark, quiet world beneath your feet. This is the hidden architecture of resilience, the root system. If the lone oak is a myth, then the grove is a reality powered by an invisible web. Your inner strength operates on the same principle. You are not just you. You are a convergence point. You are fed, anchored, and stabilized by a network of connections that go deep into the rich soil of meaning, belonging, and shared life. To become unshakable, you must first become aware of these roots. You must know what you are connected to. The first and deepest taproot is connection to a story larger than yourself. This is the root that seeks the deepest aquifer. It's your faith, your spirituality, your philosophical ground. It's the answer to the question, what is this all for? When you are connected to a divine love, a cosmic purpose, a universal truth, you are anchored to something that cannot be moved by earthly storms. Your small story is hooked into the grand narrative. A setback is no longer a meaningless dead end. It becomes a plot twist in a story whose ending is assured in goodness. This root doesn't remove pain, but it gives pain a context where it can be endured, even transformed. It's the root of hope. Then, spreading wide, are the roots of heritage and legacy. These are the roots that run horizontally, connecting you to those who came before and those who will come after. It's the strength in your surname, the resilience encoded in your family's history of survival, the traditions that whisper, "We have endured this before." It's also the root you send forward, the desire to build a better world for your children, your students, your community. This connection defeats the existential terror of being a momentary, isolated blip. You are a link in a chain. You feel the pull of those behind you, lending you their momentum, and the tug of those ahead, giving your efforts meaning. You are not building a sandcastle before the tide. You are building a cathedral over generations. Closer to the surface, but vital for daily nourishment, are the roots of shared values and community. This is the mycorrhizal network of the human spirit. Just as fungi connect trees in a forest, sharing resources and sending danger signals, Your like-minded community shares strength. This is your circle of friends who hold the same truths dear, your volunteer group, your book club, your team. These roots provide the daily practical nutrients of encouragement, accountability, and shared joy. They are the me too that breaks the spell of loneliness. When you feel weak, these roots can pass you strength, because you are part of the same organism, believing in the same things. And finally, there is the often overlooked root, connection to the natural world and the rhythm of things. This is the root that reminds you that you are a part of a living, breathing planet, not just a digital avatar or a job title. It's the strength that comes from putting your hands in soil, watching a steady sunrise, feeling the immense patience of a mountain, or the relentless resilience of the sea. This root grounds your frantic human anxieties in a slower, wiser, cyclical time. It whispers that winter is always followed by spring, that decay feeds new growth, that there is a rhythm to life that continues with or without your permission. Connecting here heals the modern sickness of disconnection from the body, from the earth, from reality itself. But here is the crucial truth about this root system. It must be conscious to be effective. A root that is never acknowledged is a root that can wither. The lone oak doesn't just stand alone, it believes it is alone. It has forgotten its connections. So, your first practice is root mapping. In a moment of quiet, ask yourself, what is my deep aquifer? What belief, what faith, what ultimate truth do I draw my deepest hope from? Name it. Who are my ancestors in spirit and in blood? What is the thread of resilience I am part of? What legacy do I want my roots to send forward? Where is my community of shared values? Who are my people? Not just social contacts, but those whose hearts beat for the same things. When do I feel part of the natural world? Where is my place of grounding? A park, a garden, a shoreline? You are not a potted plant with a single cramped root ball. You are a forest being. Your strength is proportional to the depth and breadth of your connections, to the transcendent, to the past and future, to your tribe, and to the living earth. Nourish these roots. Send your fears down through them, and let the network transform them into resilience. Draw up the ancient water of wisdom through them. Your inner fortitude is not a stockpile you keep in a private vault. It is a current that flows to you and through you, because you are connected. The sounds of the growing, intertwining roots become more pronounced, healthy, and active. They are joined by a very low, fundamental hum, the sound of the earth itself, stable and alive. Voice. Yet a root system, however deep, supports a structure that rises into the air. That visible structure, our lives, needs direct, tangible support to bear its weight and fruit. This brings us to the human pillars in our lives. The beams and pillars, strength through supported structure. The root sounds fade, replaced by the sound of strong, seasoned wood, being placed carefully atop solid stone, the fitting of a great beam on a dependable pillar. It is a sound of perfect, reliable support. Open with the sound of the strong, seasoned wood, being fitted onto solid stone from the end of point 2. It settles with a final, satisfying thud. Then new construction sounds emerge. The steady tap of a mallet setting a joint, the pull of a taut rope, the secure clink of a metal fastener. This is the sound of a structure being intelligently braced. The voice begins, with the tone of a wise architect. Voice. Roots are essential. They nourish and anchor. But life is lived above ground. We must raise a structure, a life, into the sunlight and the weather. And no builder, no matter how skilled, raises a great hall alone. They use pillars to bear the vertical weight and beams to bridge the horizontal spaces, creating a shelter that can stand for generations. This is the next layer of connection: the pillars and the beams. Strength through supported structure. If the root system is your unseen network, these are your seen supports. The specific, tangible people who actively, intentionally share the load of your life, allowing you to build higher, wider, and more beautifully than you ever could on a single foundation. First, identify the pillars, the vertical supports. These are the people who carry the primary weight of your world with you. They are often few in number, but monumental in impact. A pillar is a life partner who bears the weight of your shared dreams and daily trials. It is a mentor or spiritual guide who carries the weight of your potential, seeing the cathedral in you when you see only the lumberyard. It is a parent for a child, or an adult child for an aging parent, the one who takes the axial load of care and responsibility. Pillars don't just sympathize, they substantiate. Their strength becomes part of your structure. When you are under crushing pressure, they are the first point of contact, transferring that weight down into the solid ground of their own commitment and love. You lean on a pillar, and it does not shut. Then recognize the beams, the horizontal connectors. These are the friends, the siblings, the comrades in arms. They may not bear the crushing central weight, but they provide critical stability. They connect you to other parts of the grove. They are the cross-bracing that keeps the walls from racking in the wind. A beam is the friend you call at 2 p.m. just to laugh, whose presence spans the gap between your professional self and your human self. It's the colleague who links you to new ideas, the neighbor who creates the fabric of local life. Beams create space. They allow the roof of your aspirations to be broader because they help hold it up across a wide area. They are the connective tissue of joy, perspective, and shared memory that keeps the entire structure from becoming a narrow, lonely tower. Now, here is the profound engineering principle. A supported structure is fundamentally different from a solitary one. A single thick post can hold a lot, but it is rigid. Under lateral force, a sudden shock, a twisting grief, it can snap. But a structure with multiple pillars and crossbeams is resilient. It can flex. It can absorb shocks and redistribute strain. When one member is under temporary stress, the others can take on a little extra load. This is the genius of connection. Your weakness does not collapse the system. The system compensates for your weakness, and in doing so, protects you until your strength returns. Yet so many of us live like stubborn solo builders. We treat our pillars with suspicion, afraid to burden them. We neglect our beams, too busy to maintain the connections. We operate under a catastrophic misunderstanding that to be strong is to need no supports. But the opposite is true. The conscious, grateful utilization of support is the mark of a master builder. It shows you understand the laws of spiritual and emotional physics. You are not weak for needing a pillar. You are wise for using one. You are not needy for valuing a beam. You are strategic for installing one. So, how do we engage this architecture? It starts with the honest audit. Look at the structure of your life right now. Who are your pillars? Name them. Are you allowing them to support you, or are you pretending you're fine, forcing your structure to stand on a dangerously stressed single point? Who are your beams? Are those connections taut and secure, or have they gone slack with neglect? When was the last time you actively strengthened those joints with time, vulnerability, or gratitude? Where are the unsupported spans? Is there an area of your life, your creativity, your health, your grief, where a long, heavy load is stretching across space with no support beneath it? What kind of beam or pillar is needed there? Building this structure requires two courageous actions: leaning and bolting. You must have the courage to lean, to admit the weight is heavy and to trust your weight to a pillar. And you must have the consistency to bolt, to fasten yourself to your beams through regular, intentional investment. This isn't networking, its sacred construction. Your inner strength is not diminished by this leaning, it is defined by it. The unshakable life is not a monolithic stone block. It is a beautifully crafted, resilient hall, held up by pillars of love, braced by beams of friendship, rooted in deep purpose, and sheltering a soul that is finally, blessedly, safe from the storm. The construction sounds complete with the final resonant strike of a mallet driving a key peg home. The sound is one of completion and security, a gentle, supportive hum, like the sound a solid structure makes in a breeze, emerges. This architecture doesn't build itself. It requires a daily practical craft. Knowing why we need support is useless without knowing how to build it. We must move now to the workshop, the craftsman's tools, daily practices of connection. The supportive hum shifts into the sound of purposeful, hands-on work, sanding wood, brushing a finish, the careful click of tools being selected from a bench. It fades, open with the sounds of purposeful, hands-on work from the end of point 3. The sanding, the brushing, the click of tools, these sounds are precise, repetitive, practiced. They begin to slow, then stop, a moment of quiet. Then the sound of a single, steady heartbeat. It is joined by a second heartbeat, slightly out of sync. Slowly, through focus and intention, the two heartbeats synchronize, pulsing as one. The voice begins, practical and grounded. Architecture is a plan, a blueprint, but a cathedral doesn't rise from a drawing. It rises from the daily, gritty, hands-on work of the stonemason, the carpenter, the glassblower. The same is true for your inner fortress of connection. Knowing you need roots, pillars, and beams is the blueprint. But the building? That requires the practice of proximity. It is the dedicated, sometimes tedious, always essential craft of showing up, of building the muscle of connection until it becomes as reliable as your own heartbeat. We must confront a hard truth. In our modern world, disconnection is the default setting. It is the path of least resistance. Busyness is a culturally approved excuse. Digital interaction is a low-calorie substitute. Fear of being a burden is a silent blockade. To choose connection is to swim against a powerful current, and you cannot swim against a current with theory. You need strength. You need technique. You need to build the muscle. Think of your capacity for deep connection as a physical muscle. If you never use it, it atrophies. It becomes weak, stiff, easily strained. A sudden need for vulnerability, a crisis, a moment of raw joy, feels like trying to lift a weight you haven't trained for. It leads to panic, retreat, or injury. But a muscle that is trained regularly with progressive weight becomes strong, flexible, and resilient. It can perform under pressure. It can bear the beautiful, heavy loads of intimacy and support. So, how do we train this muscle? We start with the micro-workout of attention. Strength isn't built in one marathon session. It's built in daily, focused reps. A rep of connection can be the uninterrupted 5. In a conversation, you put your phone in another room. You set a timer for 5 minutes. Your only job is to listen, not to plan your response, not to problem solve, just to receive the words, the tone, the silence of the other person. This is a weightlifting rep for your empathy. The specificity rep. Instead of the vague, "let's get coffee sometime," you send the calendar invite. Coffee, Tuesday, 3 p.m. at the usual spot. The muscle being trained is the muscle of initiative, of turning intention into a date on a grid. The memory rep. You remember they had a difficult meeting today. You text, "Thinking of you after that 10 a.m. meeting." This is a rep for attentiveness, for holding another's reality in your mind. These micro-workouts seem small, but they are the consistent resistance that builds density. They signal to your own nervous system and to the other person, this matters. You matter. The next level of training involves the discipline of sacred space. Muscles need recovery. They also need a dedicated gym. You must carve out and protect non-negotiable spaces for connection in your life. This could be the weekly anchor, a standing walk with a friend every Sunday morning, a family dinner with no devices every Thursday night. This isn't a casual if we feel like it. It is a ritual. It is the scheduled maintenance of the beam. By making it sacred, by defending it from encroachment, you build the muscle of priority. You teach your life that connection is not what you do with leftover time. It is what you build your time around. The digital gate. Training the connection muscle requires periods of focused, analog engagement. This means having a gate on your digital world. A rule that phones don't come to the table. An hour before bed that is screen-free, creating space for conversation or shared quiet with those in your physical space. This builds the muscle of presence. But the heaviest weight, the one that builds the most formidable strength, is the lift of vulnerability. This is the equivalent of the heavy squat. It's scary. It's where you feel the most strain, and it's where the most transformational growth happens. A vulnerability rep is, I'm not okay, and here's why. It's, I failed at this, and I'm ashamed. It's, I'm terrified about this decision. To speak this truth to a safe pillar or beam is to lift the weight of your own isolation. It trains the muscle of trust and courage, and each time you do it and are met with compassion, not judgment, the weight feels lighter the next time. The muscle grows. You learn that your weakness, when shared, does not collapse the structure. It activates its supportive strength. This practice is not always euphoric. Some days it will feel like a chore. You won't feel like making the call. You'll want to scroll instead of listen. That's exactly the point. You don't go to the gym only when you feel energetic. You go because you've committed to the long-term health of your body. You practice proximity, the daily showing up, because you are committed to the long-term health of your soul and your relationships. The result of this practice is not just stronger connections. It is a rewired nervous system. You move from a state of chronic, low-grade isolation, which the body interprets as a threat, to a state of chronic, attuned connection, which the body interprets as safety. From this place of safety, true, unshakable strength emerges. Not the brittle strength of the lone oak, but the resilient, adaptable, interconnected strength of the forest. So pick up your tools. Start with one micro rep today. Send the specific text. Have the 5-minute conversation. Protect the one sacred hour. Lift the small, honest truth. The muscle is waiting to be built, and with every rep, you are not just making a connection. You are becoming unshakable. The sound of the 2 synchronized heartbeats returns, strong and steady. They are joined by the sound of deep, rhythmic breathing, the breath of someone engaged in strong, healthy exertion. It is the sound of a body and a spirit in training. As we build this muscle, we discover its most powerful function. It allows us to perform the ultimate alchemy, turning the lead of our own fragility into the gold of collective resilience. This brings us to a sacred truth, the alchemy of shared burden, how vulnerability forges fortitude. The breathing continues, but the heartbeats shift. One falters slightly, as if under strain. Immediately, the other grows stronger, steadier, supporting the rhythm until the first recovers. They beat as one again. The 2 safe 2 flutters, strains, and falters. It holds the rhythm, patient and persistent, a steady drum for the other to find its way back to. As they sink again, a new sound emerges, the crackle and roar of a forge fire, and the ringing of a hammer shaping hot metal. The voice begins, transformative and intense. We've built the muscle. We practice proximity. Now we come to the fire, to the place where the raw ore of our human experience, our fear, our failure, our fragility, is brought, and in the heat of trusted connection, transformed. This is not about support groups. This is alchemy. This is the shared burden, how vulnerability forges fortitude. We have been taught a catastrophic error about strength, that it is synonymous with invulnerability, that to be strong is to be sealed, impervious, a finished product. We hide our cracks, our doubts, our sorrows, believing that if they are seen, our value will leak out. We treat our struggles like toxic waste, something to be contained and disposed of in private, lest it contaminate others. But what if our brokenness is not waste, but ore? What if our shared burden is the very raw material from which a different, far more potent kind of strength is smelted? The process begins with the courage of the crucible. To be vulnerable is to willingly step into the fire of another's gaze. It is to take the shameful thing, the painful thing, the scared thing, and place it in the shared space between you and a trusted other. This is an act of supreme courage. It feels like risk because it is. You are handing them a piece of your unformed self and trusting they will not mock it or use it as a weapon, but will help you hold it in the heat until its true nature emerges. And then comes the sacred heat of witness. This is the alchemical agent. When you say, "I am drowning," and the other person does not look away, does not rush to fix it, but says, "I see you. I am here with you in the water." A transmutation begins. Your private agony is no longer private. It is witnessed. And in that witnessing, it changes. It loses its solitary mythic power to define you. It becomes simply a human experience, held in a container larger than itself. The shame cannot survive that gaze of love. It begins to burn away, leaving behind the pure, heavy metal of truth. I am suffering, and I am not alone. Now the hammer falls. The forging of the new narrative. Alone, your suffering tells you a story of isolation and defect. This is happening because I am flawed. I must bear it alone because I am a burden. But in the crucible of shared burden, the narrative is rewritten by loving witnesses. They speak the counter-truth. You are not flawed. You are human. This is not a defect. It is a wound. And wounds, when tended together, become scars, testaments not to weakness, but to survival and healing. This hammering, this loving challenge to your isolation, beats the formless pain into a shape. A story of resilience, a badge of fellowship, a source of empathy for the next soul who enters the fire. This is how fragility becomes fortitude, not by being eliminated, but by being integrated through connection. The weight you carried alone was a crushing anchor, pulling you under. Shared, it becomes ballast, a stabilizing weight that gives your ship of self deeper draft, making it harder to capsize in future storms. Your wound, once a secret source of infection, becomes a site of graft, a place where another's strength can fuse to yours, creating a bond stronger than the original material. This alchemy creates a fortress of a specific kind, not a cold, empty castle of self-sufficiency, but a living, breathing citadel of mutual humanity. Its walls are not made of stone pretending it doesn't erode, but of intertwined roots that grow stronger when stressed. Its strength lies in its acknowledgement of its own points of pressure and in its network of supports designed specifically for them. And here is the most beautiful, counterintuitive outcome. Your vulnerability becomes your contribution. When you dare to say, "I am not okay," you give everyone in the room permission to breathe. You silently declare that this space is safe for reality. You become a walking, talking sanctuary. Your healed scar becomes a map for someone else's healing. The burden you shared and transformed becomes a tool for the liberation of others. In lowering your own mask, you don't lose authority. You gain a deeper, more resonant authority. The authority of the one who has been through the fire and knows the way out. So, look at your hidden aura today. The grief, the anxiety, the regret, the secret dream that feels too fragile. See it not as a flaw to be buried, but as potential fuel for a transformative fire. Find your crucible, the one or two people whose love is a forge, not a furnace of judgment, and bring your ore to them. Let the alchemy begin, for what emerges will no longer be fragile. It will be fortified, not because the weakness was destroyed, but because it was, at last, forged into the unbreakable alloy of shared strength. The sounds of the forge reach a crescendo, the fire roars, the hammer rings out a final defining blow. Then, silence. From the silence comes the clear, high ping of the finished metal being struck, a sound of purity, strength, and completion. Voice. This process doesn't happen in a random crowd. It requires a specific, cultivated environment, a sanctuary of souls committed to this alchemy for the long haul. Our work now is to build or recognize the unshakable circle, your personal sanctuary of strength. The ping of the metal fades into a new sound, the soft, harmonious hum of several voices in unison, chanting a single, low, peaceful note. It is the sound of a circle, united and strong. Open with the soft, harmonious hum of several voices, chanting a single, low, peaceful note from the end of point 5. It is a sound of unity without uniformity. The hum gradually resolves into the clear sound of a small group of people breathing together, in sync, calm. Around this, the gentle, ambient sounds of a safe, enclosed space. The soft crackle of a fireplace, the cozy rustle of cushions, the faint chime of a wind bell outside a window. The voice begins, intimate and fortified. Voice. The forge of shared burden reveals a profound truth. We are not meant to walk this path with everyone. Some connections are for seasons, for specific purposes, for light fellowship. But for the deep work of becoming unshakable, you need something more focused, more sacred. You need the unshakable circle. This is not merely a friend group. It is a deliberately constructed sanctuary of mutual strength, a small, trusted ecosystem of souls who have pledged, silently or aloud, to be one another's living root system, pillars, and forge. Imagine a stone circle on a high hill, an ancient, deliberate arrangement. Each stone stands firm on its own, yet is placed in precise relation to the others. Together, they create a defined, sacred space within. They break the wind for one another. They mark a boundary between the chaos of the open moor and the sanctuary within. This is your circle. Its purpose is not social, but sanctuary building. Who belongs in this circle? Not necessarily the most charismatic or successful people you know. Look for the guardians of the threshold. These are individuals marked by two qualities: steadiness and permission. Steadiness in their own core, so they are not easily thrown by your storms. Permission in their spirit, meaning they create an atmosphere where truth can be spoken without fear of judgment or hasty fixing. They are the ones in whose presence you feel both challenged and completely safe. Your circle may only have 2 or 3 such people. That is enough. This is about depth, not diameter. The architecture of this circle is held together by unspoken covenants. These are the sacred rules of engagement that make it a sanctuary. The covenant of confidentiality. What is shared in the circle stays in the circle. This is the mortar of trust. Without it, the walls are paper. The covenant of presence. When a circle member speaks, the others listen with full attention. No phones, no glancing at clocks, no mental rehearsals of a response. This is the practice of holy listening, where the speaker feels witnessed into existence. The covenant of truth in love. This circle is not an echo chamber for complaints. It is a place for compassionate truth-telling. It is the friend who, after letting you pour out your pain, gently asks, "And what is your part in this?" Or, "What is the promise of God you are forgetting right now?" This is love that refuses to let you settle for a smaller story. The covenant of shared burden. When one carries a weight, the others move closer. They don't just say, "Let me know if you need anything." They enact. They bring food. They show up. They take a tangible task off the overwhelmed one's list. They understand that strength is often first administered in practical, physical terms. This circle becomes your psychic and spiritual immune system. When a pathogen of despair or a virus of lies tries to invade your mind, you have a place to take it for triage. You speak the toxic thought aloud. "I'm a fraud. This will never change." And the circle speaks the antibody of truth over you. "We know you. We see your faithfulness. This season will pass." The lie, exposed to the clean air of shared reality, loses its power. But a sanctuary is not just for retreat. It is also a command center for advance. This is where you bring not just your wounds, but your wildest God-given dreams. The ones too fragile and precious to survive the cynicism of the world. In the circle, you can whisper, "I feel called to write a book," or "I believe we should adopt." And instead of skepticism, you are met with, "Tell us more. How can we hold this dream with you? How can we pray?" The circle becomes the greenhouse where improbable seeds are protected until they are strong enough to be transplanted into the world. Building or recognizing this circle requires intentional curation. It may mean gently distancing from draining transactional relationships to make emotional and temporal space. It means investing deeply in a few rather than spreading yourself thinly across many. It means being the kind of sanctuary for others that you need for yourself, showing up with steadiness, offering permission, keeping confidences, speaking truth. Your unshakable circle is your most tangible earthly evidence that you are not alone. It is the living, breathing manifestation of the connected strength we have spoken of from the beginning. Within its bounds, your individual strength is multiplied, reflected, corrected, and celebrated. You are known. And in being fully known and fully accepted, you find a foundation from which nothing in this world can ultimately shake you. The sounds of the safe space, the fire, the breathing, the distant chime, continue, warm and palpable. A new sound joins, the strong, clear note of a bell being rung from within the sanctuary, its sound pure and defining. Yet the ultimate purpose of finding this sanctuary is not merely to dwell within its walls forever. It is to be so fortified, so nourished, that you can step back out into the wider world and fulfill the final, completing truth. Your strength is for giving, becoming an anchor for others. The bell's note hangs in the air, then begins to travel, as if its sound is moving out from the sanctuary, across fields and through streets, resonating outward. Open with the resonant sound of the bell traveling outward from the sanctuary, as from the end of point 6. It fades into the wide open sound of a shoreline, the rhythmic crash of waves, the cry of gulls, the wind over water. Then a new, defining sound emerges, the heavy, sure, chain-rattling clank of a ship's anchor being lowered, followed by the deep, secure thud as it bites into the solid seabed. The ship's gentle rocking steadies. The voice begins, expansive, and settled. We have journeyed from the myth of solitude to the truth of the grove, from mapping our roots to leaning on pillars, from practicing proximity to forging fortitude in the shared fire, from building a sanctuary circle to this, the final destination. The ultimate expression of inner strength through connection is not a secret you hoard. It is a gift you become. This is the connected life, your presence as an anchor. True, unshakable strength completes its circuit not when you feel safe, but when you become safety for others. Your inner fortitude, forged in the fires of connection, was never meant to be a private treasure. It was meant to be a public utility, a lighthouse, a breakwater, an anchor. When you have been held, you learn how to hold. When you have been heard, you learn how to listen from a depth that pulls others back to their own truth. When you have been rooted, you become soil in which others can take root. This is the beautiful, paradoxical mathematics of the spirit. Strength multiplies when it is given away. The lone oak hoards its resources and becomes brittle. The forest tree, connected to the network, draws up water and passes it along, and the entire system becomes more resilient. Your strength is not a dwindling battery, it is a flowing spring. The more you pour out from a place of connected replenishment, the more the source is refreshed. So, how does this look in the daily human drama? It looks like the calm in the room. You walk into a space thick with anxiety, a family conflict, a tense meeting, a hospital waiting room. Because your own inner world is anchored to pillars beyond that room, you do not get swept into the emotional riptide. Your steadiness is not indifference, it is a different frequency. Your calm becomes a silent, gravitational force that begins to pull the chaos toward order. People breathe more deeply simply because you are there, breathing steadily. You have become a living anchor. It looks like the clarity in the confusion. A friend is lost in the echo chamber of their own crisis, stories twisting in on themselves. Because you are connected to truth outside of their panic, you can listen past the noise to the core fear. You don't get tangled in every thread. You can, with love, hand them the one thread that unravels the knot. It sounds like what you're most afraid of is, or, beneath all this, what is it you truly want? Your connected perspective becomes a compass for someone who has lost their north. It looks like the memory in the amnesia of struggle. When someone is in the pit, they forget their own history, their own strength, their own worth. They forget the sun exists. You, standing outside the pit but connected to them by a rope of love, become their memory. You remind them of who they are. This is not the whole of you. Remember how you, I remember. I hold that truth for you until you can hold it again yourself. Your belief becomes a bridge back to their own soul. This is not about being a savior. It is about being a steward of your own stability. An anchor is not the shore. It is the critical link that holds the vessel secure to the shore. You are not the solution to everyone's problem. You are the stable point they can tether to while they find their own solution. Your role is not to carry their ship, but to keep it from drifting while its own engines engage. To live this way requires a profound shift in identity. You move from asking, "How can I get stronger?" to asking, "How can my strength serve?" You begin to see your scars not as badges of survival, but as maps for the lost. Your healed wounds become triage stations. Your hard-won peace becomes a shelter you can offer. This completes the sacred cycle. You receive strength from connection. That strength heals and fortifies you. In your fortification, you become a source of connection and strength for others. The flow is circular, eternal. The more you give, the more you are filled by the very network you are contributing to. You are not a dead end, you are a conduit. And a conduit, by definition, cannot be blocked, cannot be shaken, because it exists for the purpose of flow. So, look at your life now through this lens. Where are you being called to be an anchor? It may be in the quiet consistency you show your children, in the patient mentorship you offer a younger colleague, in the faithful, non-anxious presence you bring to an aging parent, in the truthful, loving word you speak to a friend adrift. Do not fear that giving your strength will deplete you. You are not a lone well. You are a vessel in a vast, flowing aquifer of divine and human love. As you pour out, you are instantly replenished from the depths of your connections, to God, to your roots, to your circle, to the timeless strength of the grove. This is the unshakable life. It is not a life without storms. It is a life that has learned through deep connection how to lower an anchor that holds in any sea. And in holding, you become the reason someone else's ship survives the night. Your inner strength, forged in connection, finds its highest purpose in becoming an outer shelter. And in that giving, you become more rooted, more fortified, more unshakable than you ever dreamed possible. The sound of the waves and wind continue, but they are now framed by the steady, rhythmic creak of a ship held fast at anchor, a sound of peace amidst power. The deep heartbeat from the very beginning of our series returns, but now it is not alone. It is one beat within a rich, symphonic harmony of many heartbeats, pulsing together in a rhythm of resilient, interconnected life. Voice. And so our journey ends where it began, with a heartbeat. But now, it is not a solitary pulse echoing in an empty chamber. It is one strong, steady beat within the grand, unshakable symphony of connected hearts. You are not alone. You are rooted. You are held. You are fortified. And now, you are ready to hold, to fortify, to anchor. Go and live connected. For that is how the unshakable life is built, together. The symphony of heartbeats swells into a final, resonant harmony.